Apple did it. They've actually did it. They've managed to out-Apple themselves harder than usual with the iPad 10th gen. Hey guys, Raymond here. What the f? Okay, so the iPad 10th gen came out back in October last year with a number of huge improvements, supposedly, over the previous 9th gen iPad. I mean, just look at it. It's been given a total makeover to look like the rest of the iPad family. And for the uninitiated, it might even think it's an iPad Air. But while the larger 10.9-inch display with the thinner bezels might look like an iPad Air, once the display is actually on, you'll start seeing the problems. Like, literally. For starters, despite the larger size, the iPad 10's display actually shares most of its specs with its predecessor. It may be liquid retina instead of just retina now, but it still only covers the sRGB display rather than the DCI-P3 color gamut that the iPad Air covers. Still has the peak 500 nits of brightness, still lacks an anti-reflective coating, and it's not even a laminated display, so there's actually a gap between the glass and the display itself. The only real benefit of the display that I can think of compared to the iPad 9th gen is that it has a slightly wider aspect ratio in landscape mode, so videos sort of take up more space on the screen. There are some other improvements Apple has made here though, such as a better A14 Bionic chip, which offers an incremental performance boost over the A13 found in the iPad 9. It's pretty much like using your iPhone 12 Pro Max but with iPad OS instead. It does also now support 5G if you get the one with cellular connectivity rather than just the Wi-Fi only model. Oh, and speaking of iPad OS, why doesn't this have Stage Manager? I mean, it's not even to say that I would actually use it considering how broken it is, but at the same time it would be nice to have the option. But no, in Apple's infinite wisdom, it's only available on the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. This means that even with the additional Magic Keyboard Folio accessory that you could kinda use it as an ad hoc computer, you can't even hook it up to an external display. I mean, at least there's a function row in the keyboard now, I guess. My frustrations with Apple continues even when they do something good. Yes, the base model iPad now finally has USB-C instead of the Lightning port. But Apple has decided poor people don't deserve speeds beyond USB 2.0, so yeah. Enjoy your 480 megabytes per second. That's not all either. Thinking of picking up the base iPad for art and creative work? Think again! The iPad 10 only supports the first generation Apple Pencil, meaning that you need to use this double-ended dongle thing with a cable to charge and connect it to the iPad. And you can't even use it while it's charging. Now, you might think that it's a small inconvenience compared to the money you're saving, but no, it's really not. I passed it on to an artist friend of mine, and the TLDR of her experience was that the Pencil 1 was an absolute deal breaker for her. And after coming up with this, she basically went back to her iPad Air with a Pencil 2 instead. Okay, so it's kind of clear that the iPad 10 isn't made for creatives, at least not like the Air or the Pro, but there is one thing that the iPad 10 does pretty well: video calls. It seems like Apple decided to do away with the magnets on the side so that they can fit the new 12 megapixel landscape ultra-wide front camera on this edge. Together with Center Stage, it actually makes for a pretty decent tool for video calls. Similarly, the landscape stereo speakers are actually quite good, probably better than entry-level laptops even. While the rear camera has been upgraded to the one similar to the rear camera on the iPad Air 2. Is that all enough to save the iPad 10 then? No, not at all. And it's all because of the price. With a new upgraded look, the iPad 10 was always going to come at a price increase, but that just made it cost way too much for what it's worth. The 64GB Wi-Fi only iPad 10 starts at an incredible 2,099 ringgit. A 500 ringgit bump over the iPad 9, which starts at 1,599 ringgit. On top of that, for the complete iPad 10 experience, you're going to want the Magic Keyboard Folio 2, But that needs you to shell out another 1,249 ringgit. Throw in the Apple Pencil 1 for 479 ringgit, and in total you would have spent almost 4 grand on a 64GB tablet. Now, if all you need is an entry-level iPad for simple productivity and video watching, please, just get the iPad 9 instead. Yes, it doesn't look as cool as the iPad 10, but it also only starts at 1,599. And the smart keyboard for it can be had for just 779 ringgit, making it reasonable enough to consider. In the end, the iPad 10 is just too much of an upgrade over the iPad 9, meaning that it's now more expensive. But at the same time, it's just not worth the extra price. Just stick with the iPad 9 if you want a simple tablet. And if you need that extra oomph in your life, just get the iPad Air instead. Well, that's been me completing my rant about the iPad 10 after reviewing it for a couple of months now. Let us know what you think about the tablet in the comment section, and which one of these three would you pick up. That's been all from me here at Soy Chin Chow, signing out.